We spend more time talking about what do you call it, as opposed to what do you do about it, you know? I mean, really, if Fox didn't talk about this, they'd have nothing else to talk about.
He's talking about this obsession some have, apparently just here at Fox, even though I've heard a Democratic Congresswoman raise this, at least 5 liberal senators raise this. We're talking about the term Islamic extremism, and that this is just somehow a Fox obsession. That's news to Karl Rove, who joins us with this and much more. Karl, what'd you think of that, out of the blue?
I thought it was odd. Well, of course, many things that the soon-to-be former Attorney General says are odd, but this, look, the administration doesn't seem to understand that words matter. Can you imagine Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, John Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, and George H.W. Bush leading the country in the Cold War against communism, against Soviet communism, without ever calling it what it is? There's a reason why the president is seen widely in all the recent polling as having no strategy. It is why in all the recent polling the president is being seen as failing to confront the percentage of people who say the ground airstrikes are sufficient is dropping. The number of people, it's now 60% in some of the latest polling that say ground forces are needed to solve the problem in the Middle East. It is why Americans today feel 47% of them feel that they are less safe. That's compared to 20% after 9/11. American people look at inane comments like that made by the soon-to-be former Attorney General, and they scratch their heads and say, what planet are these people living on?
And then, you're not only talking about a soon-to-be former official, but former administration officials who are now out are saying pretty much you do have to call this what it is and deal with Islamic extremism. And to say nothing of politicians of all stripes who are saying, we have to wake up to this reality. Joe Lieberman here just the other day saying, we have to face this threat and call it what it is and not just try to pretend otherwise. Yet we have a 3-day conference going on at the White House, as you know, Karl, involving 60 representatives from 60 nations who are essentially been told, do not call it that. So what happens in these next 3 days?
Well, first of all, not much will happen. I mean, this is inane. I'm waiting for the White House to say, following up on the President's State of the Union address, in which we called for free community college for all Americans, we're now proposing an international program of free anger management courses in order to confront the question of violence and violence around the world. Look, our allies want us to call it this. When the President of France can call it Islamic extremism, when the British Prime Minister, when the President of Egypt can call it Islamic extremism, then we've got a problem if we think we're doing any good by not calling it by its name. We cannot rally people from a moral perspective all throughout the Islamic world to confront this without naming what it is in order to put a face on it, to describe the ideology, and to help rally people to this great important cause.
Switching gears, I mean, if you know where the mainstream media's head is at, it's still firmly, I think, with this White House. Arguments on this type of stuff notwithstanding. Then I see the dust up over Scott Walker, of all people. First over the fact that he didn't complete college. I guess he's 34 credits shy. And then the New York Times has to take back a story criticizing how he hurt the University of Wisconsin, but the actions that they alluded to were before he even became governor. What is
it was a Milwaukee Public Schools. Well, it was a Milwaukee Public Schools, and it's not just the New York Times, it's Gail Collins, who hates Texas and now has Scott Walker somewhere down the list of things that she hates. And it's she who claimed that he had hurt the Milwaukee Public Schools by cutting aid to local schools in 2010. He didn't get to take office until 2011. Now, I want to see that vicious, nasty column denouncing his Democratic predecessor for having done that. But look, this is the kind of kerfluffle that could be expected. It matters not. In fact, I hope the Democrats pick up this line of argument because, look, Scott Walker, first of all, full disclosure. One, I haven't graduated from college either. And two, Scott Walker's been a friend of mine for better than 15 years. He's smart. He's principled, he's thoughtful, he's strong, he's a quiet man who's got a deep soul. And this guy, if they want to take him on by saying he didn't have a college degree, just remember, of the Americans over 25 years old, 28.8% of them have a college degree. If you take a look at the last two elections, the Democrats have been losing support between 2008 and 2012 among working class Americans who don't have a college degree or have some college, and among people who have a college degree but no postgraduate education, and are medium income, middle income, people who say, well, look, I may have faced the same kind of decisions when I was in school that he faced when he was in school, and he decided to go to work for the Red Cross with a good job offer and not finish his degree. So look, this is a dumb thing. The Washington Post showed its elitism by doing it. I don't expect that we're going to see much of it, though, because the Democrats can't be that stupid all the time.
All right, thank you very much. Carl, you know, while we're on this, I do want to get your attention. We're going to be hearing from the president very shortly with Ashton Carter, who's now approved defense secretary, his fourth defense secretary. Now, Carter was doing some sort of linguistic leaps, trying to toe the president's line when it came to things like Islamic extremism and how to deal with the terror threat. How do you think he's going to do, assuming he is the last defense secretary for this administration? No guarantee, but we are expected to hear from that meeting very shortly. What do you think? Can you hear me, Carl? Well,
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just talking about this meeting. We're going to hear back from the president meeting with Ashton Carter, his new defense secretary, his fourth defense secretary. What do you think we're going to hear?
Well, not much. This is sort of a ceremonial welcome. It's Carter's first day at the first week of the Defense Department, first day at the Pentagon. He had meetings with the Joint Chiefs and with the assistant secretaries, and then the service secretary. So this is going to be sort of a ceremonial visit. I don't think we can expect to hear much. What I'm really interested in is this man going to have a different relationship with the President of the United States than the three previous predecessors had: Hagel, Gates, and Panetta. And now the interesting thing is Carter has been at the Pentagon during part of this period of time, and he has seen up close how the White House has treated his three predecessors. Maybe forewarned is forearmed. We'll see in the weeks and months ahead.
All right, Karl Rove, thank you very much. And as Carl pointed out, this is the president's fourth defense secretary. Many argue it will be the president's last, but this is the first meeting that they have had formally. This is in the Oval Office just minutes ago.
With my new Secretary of Defense, Ash Carter. We talked about a wide range of security challenges and opportunities that we face around the world, everything from making sure that we are dismantling ISIL and not only stabilizing the situation in Iraq, but addressing the foreign fighter issue and countering the narrative of violent extremism that has been turbocharged through the internet. We had a chance to talk about situations like Ukraine. We also had an opportunity to talk about how we maintain the strongest and most effective military in the world, and how we keep faith with our outstanding men and women in uniform. I could not be more confident that Ash Carter is going to do an outstanding job as Secretary of Defense, and he is hitting the ground running, having already spent a lot of time in this administration and in the Pentagon. So I want to thank the Senate for confirming him almost unanimously, and look forward to working with him in the years to come. I think America will be well served by Mr. Ash Carter.
Mr. President, do you have a reaction to the immigration issue today?
I disagree with the Texas judge's ruling, and the Justice Department will appeal. This is not the first time where a lower court judge has blocked something or attempted to block something that ultimately was shown to be lawful. And I'm confident that it is well within my authority and the tradition of the executive branch's prosecutorial discretion to execute this policy, which will help us make our borders safer, will help us go after criminals and those that we don't want in this country, will help people get on the right side of the law, and get out of the shadows. And keep in mind that this is something that we necessarily have to make choices about, because we've got 11 million people here who we're not all going to deport. Many of them are our neighbors. Many of them are working in our communities. Many of their children are U.S. citizens. And as we saw with the executive action that I took for dreamers, people who had come here as young children and are American by any other name except for their legal papers, who want to serve this country, oftentimes want to go into the military or start businesses or in other ways contribute. I think the American people overwhelmingly recognize that to pretend like we are going to ship them off is unrealistic and not who we are. So I've also said throughout this process that the only way we're going to get a broken immigration system fully fixed is by Congress acting. And we know that there has been bipartisan support in the past for comprehensive immigration reform. I held off taking these executive actions until we had exhausted all possibilities of getting congressional action done. With a new Congress, my hope has been that they now get serious in solving the problem. Instead, what we've had is a series of votes to kick out young people who have grown up here and everybody recognizes are part of our community, and threats to defund the Department of Homeland Security, which would make it even harder for us to protect our borders and to keep our people safe. So my strong advice right now to Congress is, if they are seriously concerned about immigration, about our borders, about being able to keep criminals out of this country, then what they should be doing is working together and working with this administration for a comprehensive immigration policy that allows us to continue to be both a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. And certainly, they need to start funding the Department of Homeland Security so that they can go forward with all the functions that Republicans say they want carried out, including strong border security functions. But with respect to the ruling, I disagree with it. I think the law is on our side and history is on our side. And we are going to appeal it. For those who are now wondering whether or not they should apply, we are going to refer those questions to the Department of Homeland Security that's already begun the planning process. And we will be prepared to implement this fully as soon as the legal issues get resolved.
Why not wait until the higher court rules on your program so before implementing it?
Well, keep in mind, we're not going to disregard this federal court ruling. You know, the law is the law in this country, and we take things a step at a time. So we're not going to be actually taking actions until this case is settled. But we are doing the preparatory work.
All right, we're continuing to monitor this. The president is commenting on this judge's ruling that effectively negated his push by executive order to delay deportations for upwards of 5 million illegals. You might have caught the president saying that they are in every way Americans except that they don't have the paperwork. Well, that is what makes you illegal. If you're illegal, you have the paperwork. So just saying that that's the only difference, well, that is the whole battle right there. We'll have more after this.